everyone. Welcome to week 9. We are cruising along and we just have a couple more weeks left and a couple more assignments to complete. And I've been just super impressed with your work so far on the assignments and deep dives into equity and really thinking about how we can develop as educators to provide a more inclusive environment for students, particularly in STEM, but these often apply to all content areas and educational settings. So I am going to wrap it up with this video for the rest of the term. I'll go over in depth the project, the final project, and so there won't be any need to provide any further instruction. You'll be working on that project for the last couple of weeks. And you have one more discussion post that's due this week. So hope everybody is hanging in there. I know it gets busy, super busy this time of the school year and the term. And so hope you're hanging in there, but please let me know if you are struggling and or need any further support. So this week, building up to the action plan, equity action plan in STEM, you're going to have one more discussion. I'm going to pull up the to-do list here, actually. And so for your discussion post, you're going to respond to the prompt where you describe the first 2 steps of your STEM equity action plan. So this is just kind of leading up to your final project, giving you a chance to start thinking about that and planning for it. I have provided you with some tools to think about the planning and a template. So if you click on the equity action plan document, this is just a note template. This isn't the actual plan, but it gives you a chance to really think about some questions as you prepare your plan. So as you work towards the discussion for week 9, you might go through this template and start to answer these questions to give you an overall view of the assignment. So I have actually provided some examples of how you can, hold on a second, I'm gonna have to move this down a little bit, how you can think about an action plan. So under week, have I not made those visible in the student view? Well, let's see, I'm gonna have to exit student view because apparently I did not publish those, but I do have them, and so I need to publish those. Whoops. So here are some examples, and then we'll go back to student view real quick. So the first one is this is a school district equity and inclusion action plan. So you can take a look at this. This is going to be more in depth than obviously you're going to do for just your classroom, and you're only focusing on 2 actions. But it can definitely give you some ideas about how to format this plan and to think about how to organize it. So for instance, they have kind of an overall, these are the things that we are hoping to address and pay attention to with our equity and inclusion framework. And then they came up with specific culture goals, goals for each one. So that one is culture. This one, if you keep going, you'll see that they have some in curriculum. So for each of those top level areas that they highlighted, culture, curriculum, and community, they've come up with goals as well. So that's one example. You also have, this one is actually a school level equity action plan. And, oh, sorry, that's not the, that's a lot. So this is a school level. This is Centennial School District. And so you can take a look at, this one's formatted quite differently. So they have their commitment, their beliefs, start outlining their action plan, who are the stakeholders that'll be involved, what are the things they plan on looking at. So this one obviously is maybe a little more manageable. And so although it does have additional pieces to it that are linked. So this would be fine. The previous one would also be a good framework. So those are ways you can think of organizing this plan. So starting with the template that I've provided, you're going to start thinking about what's going to go in your plan, and then you'll use a similar format to one of those district or school plans. So I've also provided some additional resources that I want you to use to create your action plan. So most of this is going to be based on the research you've already done and the work. You did some work in the beginning with equity and really looking at research around equity. All of that is going to be kind of pulled into this final product. And so you should be referencing the research that you've conducted and looked at. You should be incorporating that into your ideas about actions to take. In addition to that, there is what is called the Oregon Equity Initiatives. And so I want you to take a look at this resource. And there are kind of top level, kind of big picture. So high expectations for all students, leadership and focus, accountability, professional development, parent and community engagement, and commitment to action. So as you can see, this is kind of Oregon's equity action plan. And so they talk about their vision, they talk about different populations and how they might address serving those students. So if you are to, for instance, to look at the African American Black student education, something that might be helpful is thinking about building capacity for education equity. So there is some very specific actions that they are planning to take in terms of how do we work with and better serve these African American and Black students in our community. So look through this. It also has some interesting information about equity in Oregon. So for instance, they talk about social justice, critical examination of power, combating discrimination and building capacity, multicultural education. Those are all big kind of high level strategies. So if you continue to dive deeper, then you will see even more specific strategies that you could consider. These are providing culturally responsive pedagogy, professional development, addressing issues of attendance and chronic absenteeism, acknowledging the systemic issues that are contributing to this problem. So these are, I would say, when you think about your plan, you're going to be diving down to this level and thinking about, as a teacher, what can I do in my own classroom where I can incorporate some of those. So what I would like to see and make sure that you reference in your equity plan is the Oregon initiatives. So going back to our to-do list, it lists out kind of the tasks for the final project. So review the materials under week 9 and 10. Do your discussion post for week 9 after you've identified 2 of the areas that are, I think the prompt says the first 2 steps of your equity plan. And then those will be on that template. Look pretty closely at the Oregon equity initiatives and make sure that you are connecting those to your action plan, and there needs to be specific reference to that. It says that here you must align your plan with the Oregon equity initiatives. Create your STEM classroom equity plan, so it should be focused and include rationale for how your goals and proposed actions will improve equity. And this needs to be specifically connected to STEM. So in some of the assignments, it's particularly a few of you have broadened it out to incorporate, ideas, for instance, for social studies education, and that's great. I want you to apply this to your current situation, but I also want you to really, in this plan, address how this that specifically is going to try to address the inequities in these fields, as we've been learning about. Your plan must include a reference page, and it must cite multiple sources from the research that you read, suggesting that the practices you're identifying are effective. So it's not enough to just say, I think I'll try culturally responsive teaching, and this is what it looks like in my classroom. I want you to say, and this is why I think this is effective and where I got who supports that in the research, and multiple sources, not just one or two. So with that, I look forward to seeing your final projects. These are due March 15th, so you have a few weeks to work on this. And please let me know if you have any questions, need support, would like to meet with me to discuss this, or want me to look at a draft prior to submitting it. I'm available for all of those. And I hope you have a good rest of your term. And it has been great working with you as students, even if we have been all online. I hope to see you maybe next term in a really exciting class, which is the environmental education STEM course. So we're going to have some fun with environmental ed, and that should be pretty exciting. So I see some of you have already registered, and I look forward to working with you some more. So with that, have a great rest of your term.